Congratulations. I rejoice with everyone on the start of a new year, year 2021. 2020 was a very harsh but remarkable year. With you all our partners in growth, we triumph over the hurdles that later all our paths. On behalf of the board, I say thank you to all our stakeholders that help us in attaining new heights. I particularly appreciate the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, a passionate, committed, and transformational leader. Thank you for the giant leaps we made, especially through Eco-Excel initiative. I equally thank our amiable and pleasant Deputy Governor, Dr. Obafemi Kadri Hamzat, for his immense support for all the activities of the board. I thank the Honorable Commissioner of Education, Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo, for her remarkable leadership role in the sector. To the Executive Secretary, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, and management staff of UBEC, ministries, departments, and agencies in the state that partner with us to ensure the smooth running of the basic education sector, I say thank you. To our corporate friends who stood by us and the people of Lagos State despite the harsh economic realities, I express our heartfelt gratitude. I'm particularly pleased with all our private sector partners in the recently launched Project Zero initiative. I cannot forget our wonderful teachers and parents who ensure that our children continue to learn even when our schools were shut. My sincere appreciation to the entire management and staff of LASUBEB and the education family for their hard work and commitment all year round. Let us get back to work with a renewed energy. Together we can achieve more. I wish everyone a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2021. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, àjùmọ̀ṣe ni o.
Hello pupils, you are welcome to another wonderful edition of your favorite program, The Classroom in Your Home, a program organized by the Lagos State Government and packaged by the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, LASUBEB. It is to ensure that you are academically engaged in addition to what you're learning in school. I am Auntie Fumi, your English Studies teacher, and as usual I have with me your wonderful teachers.
Hello children, I am Uncle Agbaje, your mathematics teacher, but you know me as the Mathemagician.
Uncle Popo is here, your general studies teacher.
And we also have our beautiful sign language interpreter in the house, Auntie Rosemary. Together, we are bringing the classroom into your home. Please stay tuned. Hello pupils, you are welcome to Auntie Fumi's class. In our English Studies lesson today, we will consider relationship among subject, purpose, and audience in writing. Yes, our topic for today is the relationship among subject, purpose, and audience in writing. But before we go into the lesson, let's have the correction to our homework. You were asked to identify the figure of speech in the given sentences. I believe you did yours. Good job, you. Now, let's do the correction together. He is a shining star. He is a shining star. Is that simile, metaphor, or personification? Of course, you have the answer there. He is a shining star is metaphor. Did you get that? Please mark. Number 2, the whole world attended my birthday party. The whole world attended my birthday party. Is that oxymoron, onomatopoeia, or hyperbole? Of course, it is hyperbole because it is not possible for the whole world to attend your party. So that is exaggeration, hyperbole. Number 3, it's a dry season and the garden is changing its clothes. It's a dry season and the garden is changing its clothes. What figure of speech is that? Personification, alliteration, or simile? Of course, you have it on the board. It is personification, because the garden cannot change its clothes. You are giving human attributes to the garden. So the answer is personification. Well done, children. Number 4. Boom. I heard the sound of a bass drum. Boom. I heard the sound of a bass drum. The sound of a bass drum already sounds something like boom. So that figure of speech is onomatopoeia. Yes, because the sound is related to the subject being discussed. That is onomatopoeia. Did you get that too? Are you sure? You're brilliant, smart children. Number 5. Go and gather the green leaves on the grass. Go and gather the green leaves on the grass. What figure of speech is that? Alliteration. Yes, alliteration. Because you have the consonant sound being repeated, and that is the letter G. Go, gather, green, grass. So that is alliteration. Auntie Fumi got 5 out of 5. What about you? You got 5 too? Oh, you got 4. No problem. I am proud of you. I still celebrate you with a cheer. Good job, you. Now to our topic for today. Don't forget I said we are looking at the relationship among subject, purpose, and audience in writing. So, by the end of today's lesson, you should be able to identify 3 elements in writing an article or write-up. When you're writing an article or a write-up, you should be able to identify the 3 elements therein. Not only that, you should also be able to define the 3 elements in writing an article. When you are to write an article, what are those 3 elements that you're going to consider? Today, you must be able to identify those elements, and you must also be able to define the 3 elements. Are we ready? If you're ready, then let's begin. When you're writing a composition, a write-up, or articles, there are 3 main elements you must consider. I said that before now. When you're writing a composition, write-up, or articles, there are 3 basic elements, 3 main elements to consider. And the 3 elements are the purpose, the subject, and the audience. Let's say that together. The purpose, the subject, and the audience. We're going to consider these 3 main elements one after the other. Sit up here. Now, let's look at the first element. That is the purpose. Yes, the purpose. The P-U-R-P-O-S-E. The purpose. This is the main reason of writing a write-up or an article. You want to write an article? There must be a reason for that article or write-up, or even a composition. What is the reason for that write-up? That is what is known as the purpose. That is the purpose. When a write-up is a written report on something or someone. I've been mentioning write-up, write-up. You might be thinking about, what does Auntie Fumi mean by write-up? Write-up is a written report on something or someone. You want to write about someone. Maybe you want to write about the mathematician. You want to write about Uncle Popo. You want to write about the classroom in your home, or even your experience in the school. You have a write-up, which is a written report on something or someone. Now, what is an article? An article is a piece of writing on a particular subject in a newspaper or magazine or on the internet. You can see now that we have different definitions for write-ups and articles. We said a write-up is a written report on something or someone, while an article is a piece of writing on a particular subject, either in a newspaper, magazine, or on the internet. Are we together? Good. Now, Talking about the purpose, we said we have three main elements: the purpose, the subject, and the audience. So the purpose answers the reason why you are writing the article or write-up. Why are you writing? That is the purpose. It is also the driving force behind the work. It is the driving force behind what you're writing. It determines what you write about and how you arrange your argument for maximum impact. The purpose is the driving force behind what you're writing, and it also determines what you write about and how you arrange your argument for maximum impact. You have a reason. I want to write about my experience during the lockdown. The reason why I want to write is this. Then that reason is going to be the driving force behind that what I want to write about. And it will also determine how I will arrange my argument for the purpose of maximum impact. It also drives the intended result. Purpose drives the intended result. Now the second element is the subject. Yes, the subject. The subject is talking about what you want to write about. It's talking about what you want to write about. Don't forget the purpose is talking about the reason for writing, while the subject is talking about what you want to write about. It is the main topic of the whole write-up. The main topic of the whole write-up is the subject. The third element now is the audience. Yes, say audience. Audience, yeah. The audience determines who is going to read the article or the write-up. The audience is talking about who reads what you are writing. The intended audience should be considered, whether minor or specific gender. You want to write an article. Who are the audience of the article? Who are those people that you want to benefit from your write-up? That is talking about the audience. Are you addressing the little children? Are you addressing a specific gender? That is the audience. So, in our English studies lesson today, we've been able to look at the relationship between the subject, the purpose, and the audience. And we talked about the three main elements of any write-up, which are the purpose, the subject, and the audience. Have you been attentive in the course of this lesson at all? Are you sure? Then it is activity time. You have to answer this question. The question is that you identify the purpose, the subject, and audience in this article. I'm going to read the article to you, and you identify the purpose, the subject, and the audience. Listen to me. Effects of drug abuse on the youth. Effects of drug abuse on the youth. That is what, looking at the three elements, what I've just read is I won't tell you now. Let's go on. Drug abuse is the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription of drugs for purposes other than those for which they are meant to be used. I want to read that again. Drug abuse is the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription of drugs for purposes other than those for which they are meant to be used, or in excessive amounts. Drug abuse may lead to social, physical, emotional, and job-related problems. Drug abuse has no gain, but destroys the present and the future of our youths. Did you understand the passage, what I've just read to you now? Okay. Now, what is the subject in this article? What is the subject in this article? I mentioned it before, and I said I wasn't going to tell you the answer at that moment. So, what is the subject in this article? A, effect of drug abuse on the youth. I'm not going to give you any dedicated time to do this. We are doing it together right now. So listen. A, effect of drug abuse on the youth. B, the youth, and C, the lazy youth. What is your answer? What is the subject? You've written that? Well done. Just write if it is A or B or C. Number 2, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of that write-up I read to you? What is the purpose? Is it A, to discuss the normal use of drugs, or B, to educate the youth on the abuse of drugs, or C, to find out if some of the youths are on drugs? What is your answer? A or B or C? And the last question, who are the audience? Who are the audience? Is it A, our leaders, B, the old men, or C, the youths? You've written your answer, smart children. Now, let's do the correction together. Wow, we are there. What is the subject in this article? Effect of drug abuse on the youth. Did you write that? Are you sure? Smart children. Number 2, what is the purpose? The purpose is B, to educate the youth on the abuse of drugs. Did you get that too? I am proud of you. The last question, who are the audience? Of course, the audience are the youths. 3 out of 3. Did you get the 3? 2. You are brilliant children. Auntie Fumi is always proud of you. I celebrate you with this chair. Well done. Now, to what Auntie Fumi loves most, assignment, your homework. That is the only thing that guarantees you're winning a lot of gifts. Yes, from the Lagos State government. For your assignment, you are to identify the 3 elements in writing an article. We already said it, but I just want you to go over it and give me the answer again. Identify the 3 elements in writing an article. Yes. So that is your assignment. And I want you to submit as soon as possible. Don't forget, when you're submitting, indicate your name, your school, your class, and your local government education authority. Please make sure you do that. And that's it for today. We have come to the end of the English Studies lesson for today. I had fun teaching you, and I know you had fun learning the relationship among subject, purpose, and audience. It is time for me to hand you over to the mathematician, Uncle Agbaje, for another beautifully packaged mathematics lesson. But before I go, I will always reiterate that Auntie Fumi is always proud of you. Bye.
Hello children, you are welcome to this segment of the program, The Classroom in Your Home. It is mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. I am Uncle Agbaje. Today in mathematics, we will extend our knowledge of volume of solid shapes to the volumes of cones. I hope you remember what a cone looks like. Well, in the last lesson, we discussed about the volumes of cylinders, and I hope you still remember the formula for finding the volume of a cylinder. It's just the base area times the height. So what are the learning objectives that we're supposed to achieve by the end of the lesson? You should be able to relate the volume of cones to the volume of cylinders. You should be able to state the formula for calculating the cone volume, the volume of a cone. And finally, of course, you should be able to do the main work for the day, which is finding the volume of a cone. So, let's begin. Now, the cone has the same dimensions as a cylinder, and that means it has a circular base and then it has a height. And so you can see the cone fits directly into the cylinder. So you can also see it here. I have a cone, I have a cylinder. They fit in right into each other. The circular base is the same, as you can see. Okay, and of course the height is the same. How do I prove that to you? Well, I'll place the same thing on top so you can see it stays. So the height is just the same. Now, but a cylinder is a prism because the top and bottom are flat. But a cone is not a prism. It is related to pyramids, and that means it has a pointed top. Okay, so the volume cannot be the same. I mean, what will go into the cone, into the cylinder at this point will not go into the cone. So the cone and the cylinder do not have the same volume. So we have to find out now what the volume of a cone is. The volume of a cone is exactly 1/3 of the volume of a cylinder with the same base and height. And how do we prove that? I want you to observe this cylinder closely. There are two lines rather, that partitions it into three. Okay, so I've already established the fact that this cone and this cylinder have the same dimensions, the same base, and of course the same height. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to fill this cylinder using this cone, and we're going to show that this cone, there are three of it in this cylinder. Okay, so observe closely. All right. Okay. All right, so the cone is full. And I want you to observe that the first volume of the cone exactly gets to the first level, and that is 1/3, because there are 3 layers, 1, 2, 3. So it stops exactly on the first level. But just to be sure that 3 of these will fill this, let's do the second one. Okay. No, not full yet. Okay, so the cone is full again. And of course, you see that it gets to exactly the second point. And the third one will fill it up to the brim. Okay. Yeah. Up to the brim, no spillover at all. And that means that 3 cones exactly will fill a cylinder of the same base radius and height, and 1 cone is just going to get to 1/3. So, and this is just a representation of what we've been saying. So the cone empties into 1/3 of the cylinder. So the volume of the cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder. But what is the volume of a cylinder? That is pi r squared times the height. So the volume of the cone will be 1/3 of that. So this is the formula that we are going to be using to solve today's problems. Are you ready? Let's begin. So the first problem says find the volume of this cone. Now with the cone, remember that the volume is 1/3 of the pi r squared multiplied by the height. That is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder. And so we need to know the radius and the height. And the radius of this is given is 7 centimeters, and the height is the perpendicular distance to the top, and that is 15 centimeters. So the volume of the cone will now be 1/3 pi. Of course, we know pi to be 22/7. Radius squared, that is radius multiplying itself twice, and that is 7/1 times 7/1. Then times the height in this case is 15 centimeters. So if we try to resolve this, when we get to this point, this is applying the formula correctly. You get to this point, you're almost there, my friend. So what we need to do now is to resolve this. Let me pick a white pen. Now 3 goes here, 1. 3 goes in 15 5 times. 7 goes here, 1. 7 goes here, 1. Okay. And so now I have 1 in the denominator, and that is trivial. We only need to multiply the numerators. 22 times 1 times 7, and 22 times 7 times 5. And so what do we have on the next line? We have 22 times 35, because 7 times 5 is 35. So multiplying 22 by 35, what do we get? Well, let's do that quickly. 22, 35. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. Now, adding along diagonals, 0, 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 plus 1 is 7. And so that gives us 770, which should be our final answer. The volume of this cone, my friend, is 770 centimeter cubes. And that means that if you take 770 small cubes, you can conveniently arrange it in this cone. Now, that explanation was detailed. I'll try and rush through the next one. Let's see again another word. This one says, find the volume of this cone. The volume of the cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder, and that is 1/3 times pi r squared times the height. But the radius in this case is 2.1 meters, as you can see here, and the height, of course, is 5 meters. So applying this in the formula is very easy. 1/3 times pi times the radius, which is 2.1, times another radius, 2.1, then times the height. So let's break this down. 3 goes here, 1. 3 goes in 2.1 is 3, or you have a decimal point, so you have 0.3. Okay, so, oh, did I say 0.3? Is 0.7 because 3 goes in 21 7 times. Okay, so 3 goes here 1, 3 goes here 7, but there's a decimal point, so that's 0.7. Now 7 goes here 1, 7 goes here 0.1. Okay, and that is that about that. So we have to multiply 22 by 0.1 by 2.1 by 5. So what do we have in the next line? That's 22 by 10.5, because when you multiply 2.1 by 5, you get 10.5, 2.2. When you multiply 2.2 by 1, you get 22 times 1 is 22, but there's a decimal point, so that's 2.2. Now 2.2 by 10.5 is what we need to resolve. So let's do that quickly on the workboard. So now 2.2 by 10.5 is what we want to do. 2.2 times 10.5. So let's do 22 times 105. 105, 22. So putting a line between each number and putting a diagonal between each box. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 0 times 2 is 0, 0. 0 times 2 is 0, 0. 1 times 2 is 2, so I write 0, 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, adding along diagonals, 0, 1, 3, because 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 3. And 2 here. So you have 2, 3, 1, 0. I have 2, 3, 1, 0. But I have one decimal place here, one decimal place here. That is 2 decimal places. So I count 2 digits, 1, 2, and put a decimal place. So I have 23.10, which of course I can write as 23.1. That should be the final answer. But let's see. So the key lies in being able to apply the formula for the volume of a cone correctly. And so remember that the volume of a cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder, and that is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. So now it's your turn. You are to find the volume of this cone, my friend. Let me write that formula for you so that you can see. The volume is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. You have 1 minute 20 seconds for this exercise. Begin. Alrighty then, my friend, I believe that you are done. Let's now see whether you've gotten the principles right. To find the volume of this, we use the formula, which is 1/3 of pi r squared times the height. Now the radius in this case is 35 centimeters and the height, of course, is 42 centimeters. So you should have no problem putting this down. 1/3 comes down, pi is 22/7, the radius is 35/1, times the radius again, which is 35/1, then times the height. So you bring that height down as well, and that is 42. When you get to this point, my friend, and you are able to bring out all these terms, you're almost there. The most important thing to do right now is to reduce this expression to the lowest it can go. So we can go like this. Let me see. Pick a pen here. 7 goes here, 1. 7 goes here, 6. 3 goes here, 1. 3 goes here, 2. And we have all ones in the denominator. So our challenge is now to multiply 22 by 35 by 35 by 2. Okay. So let's see what happens on the next line. So that is 22 times 35 times 70, because 35 times 2 is 70. Now let's multiply this one by 1 on the workboard. 22 times 5 times 70, quickly. 22 times 35 times 70. So I'll take these two first. 22, 35. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 5 is 10. Adding along diagonals, I have 0, 7, 7. That's 770. So this gives me 770, and I'll multiply that by 70. Well, you know what? I'm just going to multiply 77 times 7 and add the 2 zeros later on. So that's 77 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. I write 9, group 4. 7 times 7 is 49 plus 4, that is 53. That is 539. Then these 2 zeros, I'll put it. That should give me 53,900. So let's check out what we have and see whether we are correct. Of course, it is 53,900 centimeter cubes, my friend. Were you able to get to this point? If you were, excellent job. If you were not, no problem. Maybe perhaps the time was not enough, but you will have assignments to practice with. Trust me. Now, summarily, what have we learned today? We have learned that the volume of a cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder, and we demonstrated that by using this cone to fill this cylinder. Okay, and so knowing that the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h, the volume of a cone will be 1/3 times pi r squared h. The most important thing is for you to identify your radius and to identify your height. Practice with the assignment that I'm going to be giving you, and you can be sure that in the next lesson we'll walk through it together. Capture this. You have 20 seconds. Hello children, you are welcome to this segment of the mathematics class. Today is Thursday, and of course you know we have Thursday teasers. Okay, so what does Uncle Agbaje want to pick our brain with today? Oh, it's just something from your usual plethora of brain teasers. We have 5 images that are supposed to be on the top level, but the middle image is missing. You are to study the remaining 4 images, find a pattern, and select which of these images below will fill in this point correctly. You have 1 minute to figure it out. Begin. Alrighty then. Any luck? Well, the truth be told, I have to just figure this out myself right now. But you know, we can always work it together. Let's see. In each of the images, there are three shapes. There is a star, a black star, a grayed out triangle, isosceles triangle, and there is a circle. So I'm going to watch the movement of the stars. Not the stars, these stars. Okay, top left, top right. Okay, bottom left, then back to top left. Okay, so it's like the star is moving from here to this point, and then this point is missing, but it has gone back to this point and then back to the top. So it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. But what is missing? It starts from here 1, then it goes here 2, and so the third one is missing. So I'm going to be looking for where I have the star at the bottom right. Bottom right, 1, 2, 3. So our options are either A or C or E. B and D are out. So let me just remove those ones. Okay, now let's follow the movement of the circles. Circle is here, bottom left, bottom right, then top left. We don't know this one. Here, back to this point, back to this point. It's like it's just oscillating between these two positions. And so that is here, here, here. Then it's supposed to come back here. So, which means it's coming here. So I will look for where I have the circle at the bottom right again. So it's not here. It is here, and it is here. All right, so we're left with two options. Let's see the final one. The triangle, the isosceles triangle is facing up. Then it rotates 90 degrees. And now it's rotating this way and then back up. So it's like it's going around in circles. Up, 3 o'clock, then it should be 6 o'clock, before 9 o'clock, and back to 12 o'clock. So which one is 6 o'clock? Not this one. Definitely, it is going to be that one. E is the correct answer. Of course, E is the correct answer. Was it E you chose? Yeah, somebody's jumping up and down. You're a smart kid, my friend. With that, we have come to the end of the mathematics lesson for today. I trust that you enjoyed yourself, because I did. Now do your assignments, and I'll be back in the next class so that we can work it through together. It's time for me to hand you over to Uncle Popo for the general studies lesson. Till I come your way in the next class, remain wonderful mathematicians. Bye-bye now.
Hello, pupils. You are welcome to General Studies class. I am Uncle Popo. Uncle Popo is here. Good. We are here together. Excellent. 100% attention is what I want you to give me in today's lesson. Our subject for today is agricultural science. And today we want to look at a very simple and interesting topic in agricultural science. And before that, let me even ask you some questions. I believe all of us, we know groundnut. Do we know groundnut? Okay, can you tell me in what part of the country in Nigeria do we get groundnut? That we mostly get our groundnut? Is it in the north, in the west, in the south, in the east? Some of you are just speaking. Okay, we shall discuss that in today's lesson and see why we have some crops or plants in some parts of the country and we do not have those crops in other parts of the country. So we shall look at that in today's lesson. Our topic is distribution of crops. And let's look at the learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define crop distribution. 2, you should be able to list the crop distribution zones in Nigeria. And you should be able to give examples of crops in each zone. So let's begin. Distribution of crops in Nigeria. When we say distribution of crops, what do we mean by that? Distribution of crops refers to the region where a particular crop is mostly adopted in Nigeria. Where we have some crops, mostly. No, I told you when we started that groundnut, where do we get groundnut? Mostly in this part of the country. So we are talking about distribution of crops where a particular crop is mostly adapted in Nigeria. That is what we mean by distribution of crops. So this is just the map of Nigeria showing different zones. Distribution of feed crops all over the world depends upon several factors. When we talk about distribution of crops, we have some certain factors that are responsible for this. Not that a particular part of the country just wish to have those crops and they are having it. We have some factors responsible why we have some crops in some parts of the country, even in some parts of the world, and we don't have it in some other parts. What are the factors responsible for that? Climate, growing season, growing season differs. Altitude, rainfall, we have rainfall in some parts of the country, and we do not have as much in some other parts of the country. Wind, soil, and other factors. All these are responsible for having some crops in some part of the country, and we do not have in other parts of the country. Climate, growing season, rainfall, wind, soil, and let me tell you this, we do not have, we have different types of soil, and we don't have, some have a particular type of soil in their own side, while some other states or some other parts of the country do not have, or they are not blessed with those type of soil. And we have different types of soil that are good for different types of crops or plants. Okay, now let's look at this. Distribution of crops with examples. We want to look at those examples. Now the first one is savanna. Say that. Savanna does. This is talking about grassland with scattered individual trees. Now, when talking about different zones that we have in Nigeria, I told you that we have certain crops in some parts of the country and we do not have in some parts of the country. So there's need to talk about different zones that we have. So that is, the first one is savanna. And when we talk about savanna, it's talking about grassland with scattered individual trees. That means, let's look at this diagram here. This is just the picture showing how savanna looks like. So we have the scattered trees. We don't have that kind of here. We have trees that are very close to each other. It's always scattered and in this format. It is often believed that savannas feature widely spaced, like you saw in that diagram. Scattered trees, those are the characteristics, spaced, scattered trees. However, in many savannas, tree densities are higher and trees are more regular. Climate, I told you before that some factors are responsible for that. Climate is the most important factor in creating a savanna. We have savanna in some parts of the country we do not have. What is the major responsible factor for that? And that is the climate. The climate is the most important factor creating a savanna. That is why we have savanna in some parts of the country and we do not have, and it's due to the climate. Savanna are always found in warm or hot climate. In where? Warm or hot climate. And we have savanna in continents, or let me say in countries, like, let's talk about continent first. Africa continent, we have savanna there. And in large areas of Australia, South America, and India. So we have these kind of zones there. Now let's look at examples of crops that could be found in savanna. In Nigeria here, the first one is millet. So we have this kind of crop in that area. And let's look at another one, and that is cowpea. We also have this type of crop in savanna. Let's look at another one, groundnut. I asked you when I started. So it's also, you can also find this in savanna zone. Likewise, cotton can be found there. Rice is also another example. And common areas, where do we now, all these crops that I've mentioned and I've talked about savanna, in what part of the country can we get or are blessed with that savanna zone? I'm talking about Nigeria now. So let's look at the states where we have savanna, like Sokoto, Kebbi, Kano, Borno, Taraba, Kaduna, Adamawa. So all these states in Nigeria, they have that savanna. And all those crops that I have mentioned, we mostly get those crops in that area, like your rice, groundnut, and all that. Let's look at another one. This is derived savanna. This is another one, derived savanna. What do we mean by this? This is the result of people clearing forest land for cultivation. When they clear the forest land for cultivation, then farmer fell a tract of forest, burn the dead trees, and plant crops in the ashes for as long as the soil remains fertile. That's just the other part of the savanna. And the red savanna was once over the forest but has lost tree cover due to agricultural and other pressures on the land. So that is the red savanna. It's just like, but the difference from the savanna and semi-arid and the red savanna is this one, the burnt trees and the loss of cover crops, now they can plant their crops on the arches of the burnt soil then. So let's look at the examples. The examples like we mentioned in the savanna, this one in the rice savanna, we have Guinea corn. That's example there. Maize, yam, soya beans. And what are the areas or parts of the country or states in Nigeria where we have derived savanna? We have in Kwara, Oyo, Osun, Enugu, and Anambra. So we get derived savanna in these states: Kwara, Oyo, Osun, Enugu, and Anambra. So let's look at the next one, and that is swamp forest. That is swamp forest. A freshwater swamp forest is defined as a forest that is full of mineral-rich water. Mineral-rich water, that is fresh water, either as a permanent, irregular, or seasonal condition. You understand what I'm talking about here? Okay, looking at this picture here, this is showing exactly how the swamp forest is. It's full of flooded land. And let's look at some examples of crops that could be found in swamp forest. I think I have a coconut here. And in which part of the country that we mostly find the coconut in Nigeria? Who knows? Some are saying Lagos, some are saying Ogun, Oyo. Okay, somebody said Lagos, but tell me exactly that part of Lagos where you can find coconut. Somebody said Agege. Agege, Ikeja, no. At Badagry. Badagry. So moving on, common areas where we have swamp forest, we have in Akwa Ibom, in Bayelsa, we have in Cross River, Delta, Edo, Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, and River State. So we have swamp forest in those states. Now it's time to test you and see how you have given me your 100% attention in today's lesson. Just 3 questions. Question number 1. What do you understand by distribution of crops? What do you understand by distribution of crops? Question number 2. Which of these zones can we have the following crops? Groundnut, cotton, and millet. The options are there. A, swamp forest. B, savanna. C, rainforest. And the third question, which of these zones is full of fresh water, either as permanent, irregular, or seasonal condition? Talking of water, here we have swamp forest, B, savanna, and C, rainforest. So I'm still waiting. You are attempting this question while I'm still standing. You have just 10 seconds more because others are optional. You just pick if it is A or B or C. 3 more seconds. Time up. So let's mark together. Now, what do you understand by distribution of crops? This refers to the region where a particular crop is mostly adopted. That's the definition. And the second one, in which of these zones can we have the following crops: groundnuts, cotton, and millet? That is in savanna. And the third one, in which of these zones is full of fresh water, either as permanent, irregular, or seasonal condition? That is in swamp forest. So, score yourself, and 3/3. Good, I have brilliant children. So, it is better to do it better in order to make it better for the betterment of our society. Applying common sense in our uncommon way will make you a great person. So, bye.
My wonderful pupils, we have come to the end of another exciting episode on the Classroom in Your Home.
It has been fun-filled and action-packed for us. We learned a lot. But above all, we want to believe that you have learned a lot too. Now practice, practice, practice. That's what leads to perfection, my friend. So we expect that you will take your time to visit our online catalog for more practice exercises. You can access these exercises using the link bit.ly/LASUBEB-tests. The link again is bit.ly/LASUBEB-tests. Remember, these online assessments are our own way of knowing how well you are performing so that we can help you to improve on your performance.
Taking the online test is based on if you have access to either your daddy's, your mommy's, your uncle's, or your auntie's Android or smartphones. If not, there's no problem. Just send your questions, your comments, and your assignment to 081 50 86 5663. Please do not call that number. Just send your SMS or WhatsApp messages only. And when you're sending in your homework, make sure you indicate your name,
Your school,
Your class,
and your local government education authority. This is the only way through which we can identify you and appraise you accordingly.
fun-filled, action-packed, interesting, characterize today's lessons just like the previous ones. All these lessons are on Lagos SUBEB YouTube channel for you to watch over and over again. Subscribe to Lagos SUBEB YouTube channel to get notification when new videos are uploaded. The Classroom in Your Home could be watched live on Facebook, the same time airing on television through the page showing on the screen.
Until our next lesson, when we shall meet again on another interesting edition of the Classroom in Your Home. Please do your homework and submit immediately.
Wash your hands regularly.
work hard and study harder, but above all,
Stay safe.
because at LASUBEB,
We leave no child behind.